Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram for the latest Raiders news and rumors at MitchellRenz365. I got a six-pack of rumors ready to crack open for y'all, and I hope that you're ready, because this first one is going to open up your eyes a little bit, and it's around Colin Kaepernick. And are the Raiders going to sign Colin Kaepernick? Yeah, you heard that right. This one's one chucky head, though, for me. I think it's a small shred of truth. Now, this rumor came out a few hours ago, and I'm kind of surprised that I'm reading it. And if Scott Gleason and Tom Shad of USA Today Sports are correct, Colin Kaepernick will not be unemployed for much longer. In a piece where Gleason and Shad had made some sports predictions for 2019, they predicted that Colin Kaepernick will end up signing with the Oakland Raiders in an attempt to push Derek Carr. Gleason and Shad also mentioned that the Raiders are going to be looking to make a big splash, in quotes, before their move to Las Vegas. Now, I don't really understand this move for the Oakland Raiders. Now, I think Colin Kaepernick is better than Nathan Peterman. I'll flat out say that right on here, but I don't know if Colin Kaepernick's the reason. And if he's going to be the guy that's going to push Derek Carr actually had a pretty good year. Like, let's think about what Derek Carr had to deal with this season. So, it's an interesting move. I don't think it's ultimately going to happen. That's why I'm giving only one chucky head, but it would be a huge headliner. Now, when you look at Colin Kaepernick's career, he's had an okay up and down career. He's had some really good years, and he's had some really, really bad years. Ultimately, though, 59.8% completion percentage, 12,000 passing yards, 72 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, which is actually really close to the same touchdown-interception ratio as Andrew Luck, but we don't have up on here as his rushing ability. And Colin, well, we know him as he's a rushing quarterback. I just don't know if he's necessarily the best fit for the Raiders. So, Raider Nation, I want to know from you. I got a nice little reaction poll here. Should the Raiders sign Colin Kaepernick? If you're watching on YouTube, I want you to comment yes or no. If you're watching on Facebook, give me a heart for yes or a like for no. Should the Raiders sign Colin Kaepernick in 2019? My next rumor here is around a free agent, and it's a good name here. It's Ezekiel Ansah. And are the Oakland Raiders going to sign Ansah in 2019? This one's two chucky heads, and people are talking. I think this one's literally a coin flip. Like, right here, okay, are we going to get him whether or not? Like, that's how this one's panning out for me. And Bleacher Report has predicted that the Raiders are going to sign Ezekiel Ansah in 2019 free agency, and I get it, right? The Raiders need a pass rusher, and Ansah will be looking to sign a long-term contract, and the Oakland Raiders are going to have a lot of money to spend. Ansah played under the franchise tag in 2018 for the Lions, and it led him to a less productive, as he usually is. He was cursed with the injury bug just after 7 games and was placed on injury reserve for the rest of the season after receiving shoulder surgery. The Lions will likely use the franchise tag elsewhere after all, and now when I'm looking at Ansah, it looks like he's going to be on the free agent market. So you got a pretty good pass rusher, or when he's healthy, a really good pass rusher, and we know the Raiders are in desperate need of adding that pass rusher, right? So they only had 13 sacks this past year, but when you look at his 2018 stats, like in 7 games, 11 tackles, 4 sacks, no forced fumbles, no, fumble recoveries, but, like, I don't know if I really want Ezekiel Ansah because he hasn't been able to play a full 16-game season in the last 3 years, and if there's one thing that the Raiders need, it's some consistency. So, I want to know from you, would you want the Raiders to sign Ezekiel Ansah? I want you to type 1 for yes or type 2 for no. If you're watching on Facebook, just type 1 or type 2, yes or no. Would you want the Raiders to sign Ezekiel Ansah? If you want to know what I think, DM me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. If there's one thing I'm typing my 1 for yes, it's BetDSI, and they hooked us up with an awesome promo code here at Chat Sports. It's 120% deposit bonus. Raider Nation, I'm telling you, it's the best deposit bonus on the internet. Use that promo code LIVE120 for 120% deposit bonus. Down there, play now, chatsports.com/bet. You're going to go to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code LIVE120 for 120% deposit bonus. My next rumor here is around what the heck the Oakland Raiders need, and there's a bunch, right? There's a bunch of Raiders needs, and is wide receiver the biggest one out of all their offensive needs this offseason? This one's 4 chucky heads for me, and it's believe it, baby, and the Raiders had a lot of moving pieces. I still like Amari Cooper. I still think he's a good receiver, but he had to go. He wasn't the right fit, I think, for the Raiders. And Martavis Bryant, another receiver who was on the outside looking in. When I look at overall, the overall what the Raiders potentially need, I think their biggest needs are wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, running back, and at the very last for offense, it's quarterback. And with Marshawn Lynch due to, I think he's going to retire. I've said it before on here multiple times. Chris Warren's a running back that I still like a lot. That's why it's number 4. Offensive line is still young, but Tom Cable, I think, was the bigger issue there. And then tight end, Jared Cook had an unbelievable year. Heck, he was 2018 comeback player of the year, or 2018 most improved player according to PFF. So, but I'm looking at the Raiders wide receiver depth chart. Their biggest need in the draft and a free agency for me personally is wide receiver. But this show isn't just about me, and I want to know from you, what's the Raiders' biggest need on offense? Is it wide receiver? Is it tight end? Is it offensive line? I want to know from you, what's the Raiders' biggest need on offense? Comment below if you're watching on Facebook, or comment if you're watching on YouTube. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, I would love for you guys to subscribe to youtube.com/Raiders Report, where I release my Raider Nation rumors. I release Raiders rumors. And if you want to actually be on the show, you got to subscribe. youtube.com/Raiders Report, and I can get you on the show with my Raider Nation rumors. Also, you can DM me on Twitter at MitchellRens365 if you happen to miss the show and you want to know a little bit more things on the inside. DM me on Twitter at MitchellRens365. My next 3 rumors here are pretty good, and they're going to light up your eyes as well. And why am I saying must watch Clemson versus Bama? Why is this a rumor? This one's for Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. Now, why? Why am I telling you to do this? Well, guess what? Clemson Bama, for one, is going to be a great game, and Chat Sports is actually at the college football playoffs right now, getting ready to set. But the Raiders have the number 4 pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, and 2 players who are legitimate candidates for that number 4 pick are playing in this game. So Clemson's Colin Ferrell and Bama's Quinnen Williams. You need to watch both of these players because these players could easily be in silver and black next season. And when I ask you, who would you rather have? I want you to be able to give me an honest answer. Do you want Colin Ferrell or do you want Quinnen Williams? When you look at Quinnen Williams' stats at Alabama, they're a little deceiving. So he was a little bit slower coming into this freshman year, but his sophomore year, this dude absolutely exploded onto the scene. And the fact that he's only a sophomore is scary to see the upside. So in 23 games, 87 tackles, 24.5 tackles for a loss, and 10 sacks. Now, I don't know if he's the biggest need because he's probably going to be a defensive tackle, and we have a solid guy in Maurice Hurst. So I love Quinnen Williams. He's super talented. But for me personally, I think the better fit and maybe even more upside is in Colin Ferrell. So his career stats at Clemson are special, right? 162 tackles, 27 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 5 forced fumbles. I want you to watch both of these players on Monday, tomorrow, in the College Football National Championship game, and I want you to just see how special they are and just think, hey, one of these guys could easily be in silver and black, and I'm going to ask you later on, who would you want, right? So who should the Raiders draft at number 4? Let's say both these players are on the board. Right, you're Mike Mayock, you're with John Gruden, you're in the room, and you're saying, all right, do you want Quinnen Williams or Colin Ferrell? I want you to type Q for Quinnen or C for Clelin. Makes sense? Awesome. Who should the Raiders draft at number 4? My next rumor coming in here is Gareon Conley the best Raider right now. Now, I saw this, and I mean, Gareon Conley was one of my breakouts this year, so I'm not totally against it. This one's 2 Chucky heads, though, and people are at least talking. Now, Fanside came out, and for once, I actually kind of agree with some of the stuff that Fanside did. And they came out and said Gareon Conley's the best Raider right now. So basically what happens is they break down Conley as being the best player. And according to Pro Football Focus, Gareon Conley gave up 27 total catches. This is the second least amount of catches allowed behind only Richard Sherman's total of 25, which means Gareon Conley is giving up a total of 1.68 catches per game. That's sick. Conley is also allowing only 54% of his catches to be completed. To go along with that, he had 3 interceptions and 10 pass breakups on total of 50 targets. I want you to think about that for a second. Only 4 passes thrown to Conley's way, and every 4 passes thrown Conley's way, he's getting his hand on the ball at least once. Gareon Conley was drafted in the first round, pick 17 of the 2017 NFL Draft, and last year he was a bust. Let's just be honest, he was a bust. But since he got benched in that Seattle Seahawks game, this dude has been an absolutely stud. So that's why it's 2 Chucky heads for him being the best player. But when you look at the 2018 season stats, 37 tackles, 15 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. And I think he really started to come on the scene in that great game against Antonio Brown, when Brown saw only 7 targets, 5 catches, 35 yards. When you can shut down AB, hey, you deserve a look, especially here on the Raiders Report. So we're talking about Gareon Conley potentially being the best player on the Oakland Raiders, but I want to know from you, who's the Raiders' best player right now? And I don't want to just say it's Derek Carr because he's the quarterback and that's the most important position. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. If you're saying right now the best player on the Oakland Raiders, that's what I want to know from you. And if you want to know who I personally think is the best player on the Raiders, DM me on Twitter at MitchellRens365. My last rumor here is around more free agents, and it's Landon Collins. And are the Raiders going to sign Landon Collins in 2019 free agency? Long pause? Good. one Chucky head. I think it's a small shred of truth, and I like Landon Collins. I think he's a great player. I just don't necessarily know if he's going to fit what the Oakland Raiders are trying to do because, well, Carl Joseph really stepped up at the end of the season. And when you're talking about Landon Collins, you know, I think the Raiders need a leader on defense. I get it. And he's physical, and even though his season ended with a shoulder injury, I still think he's going to come out. He's one of the best young defenders in the league, and he is super physical. And I think he would be a Gruden grinder, and I did come out and say he would be one of my top free agent targets for the Oakland Raiders. The only issue is I don't know if they're going to spend that much money on Landon Collins because I don't think it's necessarily their biggest need on defense. We know they need help defensively, like on the defensive line. They need help with linebackers. I just don't know if Landon Collins is going to be able to step up right away, and we're going to be able to pay him that much money, especially for a guy who's on the IR. So I like the idea of Landon Collins. I just only think it's one Chucky head. When you look at his 2018 stats, I mean, this dude's a stud, right? Like 96 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble. Sure, he's got 0 interceptions, but he's a physical dude, and he's going to absolutely bring the haymakers every single week, and it's why that I love Landon Collins. It's why just in 2016, he was what? Defensive Player of the Year. So Landon Collins is an absolute stud. So I want to know from you, Raider Nation, would you want the Raiders to sign Landon Collins? I want you to type Y for yes or type N for no. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, type Y for yes or type N for no. I will say Landon Collins would look really good in silver and black, but I think he would look even better in some Mizzen+Main. So shout out to Mizzen+Main for making me look pretty good here today as well. Go to www.comfortable.af because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. They're made in America. They got sweat wicking technology. They're super stretchy and flexible. You can wear them to work. You can wear them to the gym. You can literally wear these bad boys anywhere. So again, Mizzen+Main, www.comfortable.af. I'll be back later in the week with some more Raiders rumors and more Raider Nation rumors. So until then, go Raiders.
Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.